The story briefly describes a person who is naive and straight, and even though he's a good person, one day a bunch of disasters fall on top of him, one after the other. The first disaster, a person comes to him and says that there's a group of robbers who came and took his cattle and killed the workers. And he's talking. The second one comes and says, lightning, God's fire came and burnt the sheep and also the shepherds. The third comes and announces that another group of robbers came and stole the camels and killed the guards. And then the most bitter message comes that a wind came and knocked down his house and killed his 10 children that were in the house. Job hears this chain of events, one after the other, and what he says, I came out of my mother's womb naked, and I will return naked. God gave and God takes. God's name be blessed. That's how the story begins. So perhaps the first question that comes up for any of us, is there destiny? Is there fate? What is destiny? What is fate? And is there fate? That's the question. I don't know if there is. It's a question that lots of people deal with. What do you think about it? Is there fate? Isn't there fate? How do you relate to it? What happened to him? Was it written in advance that it would happen? Is there a permanent plan in advance? With all due respect to him, we're more... I want to answer this in a slightly different manner. There's no randomness. What does that mean? If there's no randomness, what is there? There's forces of nature that are operating on each and every part of creation and all of creation. The general force, individual forces, private forces of this general force on all the material and parts of creation, which are parts of the general material. And it's advancing more and more and more, as we see in the general evolution. So you're identifying with his response. After all these blows fall on him, you can't even imagine such a more gruesome chain of events. All his assets and his children, his responses. I came out of my mother's womb naked, and I will return naked. God given and God takes. He's like agreeing. It's some sort of type of agreement with these forces that came and did what they did. Correct. So now you can relate to them how you want. But first of all, you have to agree with it that it's not just blind fate, but rather it's a process that's going through all of creation and on myself. And this process is just a combination of forces. As one process, many forces that are operating in this manner, and I'm in this process. I now went through my part. You feel that it's the forces of nature are operating. But still there's an expression, a very well-known expression that says everything is written, but there's still something you can do. If there's a plan that everything is decided in advance, what can we do? In us, we have the ability. Compared to inanimate, vegetative, animate, we are the human species, and we have an ability to connect between us to reach a general connection between us in which we won't be the actual part of nature, and in this we can neutralize all the bad development, and all the development that is coming will go through us in a positive manner. So you mean our ability is to change our attitude, not just our inner attitude, but it's also actually all of nature is one. We've spoken about that a lot. And humanity inside this nature represents some bad element because we are in this conflict of materials. We hate each other. We're distancing ourselves from each other. We're in conflicts, wars, all kinds of things. If we see nature, we're only harming it. And if this is so, then everything that's happening in a bad way and not a good way, it's because we are taking this development in an incorrect manner. If we would accept this development as pushing us toward more connection, toward greater connection, to debate, to participation, to mutual responsibility, then of course we would receive all those same forces that are developing us in a pleasant manner. And in this we have sanction. Development has to be, the forces have to operate on us, but we are not suited to those same forces. And that's why we receive them in a negative manner against our desire, our understanding, and our acts. Also in our acts, our thoughts, and everything. And then it turns out that all of development, we see even now on ourselves that all our development is for the worse. Each from year to year, we feel ourselves more and more bad, more harming and more harmful. It's interesting that you're speaking about the fact that evolution, our development, is advancing us to a connection, to connect to good relations between one another, which is the place. The goal is to bring all of creation, all of nature into balance. Everything like we see in micro, all these things come into balance. Why does wind come? To balance the pressures. Where does heat and cold come from? You open a window, it's hot outside and it's cold inside, so there's some kind of balance between the cold inside and the heat outside. Balancing the pressures inside a person, nature is attracted to balance. If we are not attracted to balance with nature, us ourselves, then we are causing with that all of nature on the whole planet is going out of balance. Because a person is higher than inanimate, vegetative animate. We're harming the ecology and also our lives. We're harming our destiny. So instead of developing in a good direction toward connection, toward a good attitude, to define ourselves as the understanding, the part that's organizing nature and everything that's on the planet, we're acting in the opposite manner according to our inner urges. And in this manner, we're each time we're in conflict with nature more and more as time goes by. This process is accumulating, and then the disaster comes. It accumulates some more, and then a disaster comes. And also these disasters, you're talking about disasters that are general and also private? Yes, the natural disasters are wars that we're doing and all kinds of epidemics, but also in a person's private life. In other words, you relating to each blow that comes. It doesn't matter what blow it is, doesn't matter who, what level, altogether as an expression of the lack of general imbalance, and with this trend of developing toward connection, harmony between all the parts, and then the lack of balance brings some kind of blow. It's interesting to see in the story of Job, they're not taking someone who's one of the negative people inside that society, but they're emphasizing that he's naive, he's straight, he's God-fearing, he's honest, he's one of the good guys. Not just good, he's maybe even the best of that same era. They're giving him to teach us something. And what do they want to show us in that? That precisely him, that person, everything is okay with him, there's no bad with him, it's all good. He gets another blow, another blow, another blow, and even, I want to add to that, that this story of Job emphasizes that it's not as simple as it looks, but there's something much more sophisticated. There's some kind of struggle. There's some kind of bet between God and Satan. It's like he's looking at humans and saying, let's take Job. Satan says, you think he's good, that he's whole with you, and it's only because he's rich and has abundance and he's thriving. Let's start taking, let's start giving him blows, and let's see where he gets to. That's where it begins. And then that poor Job, scene after scene comes, and there's always this dialogue between Satan and God to see how he reacts. It's like some little animal that you keep hitting. Now I'm going back to your explanation. You said that altogether the lack of balance is what's bringing the blows on a person. Job, if he's looking at the world around him, I'm sure he's seeing lots of lack of balance. But if he's looking at his own life, a person who's straight and honest, he can't find in his life the lack of balance. What does it come to teach us? That precisely he gets all the blows and he becomes the symbol in all the generations of the height of human suffering. Why do they do it to the good guy? I think if you go out to the street now and start asking people, sometimes they go around with a microphone, everyone will be at the level of Job, like it says at the beginning, straight, honest, everything's fine, not me, I'm a decent citizen, etc. You're saying every person relates to himself as good? Yes, that's what it comes to teach us, that this is the sensation each person has towards himself? Correct. But there's a blow here in a private manner on something that's like general. He's being punished for something that's general. He's getting the blow personally when there's some general lack of balance. In general, nobody feels what's happening in general. As far as I'm concerned, the world can blow up. The main thing is that I'll feel good and I won't feel it. I'm prepared to be on some little private island in some ocean, huge ocean of fire, and I don't care about anything. That's how Job also relates to it. So he's only looking, actually, this is what the writing is also emphasizing. He's like an island of positive. He has everything. I'm innocent, I'm righteous. His life is good. And now when the bad comes, he also says, Baruch Hashem. He continues justifying God. God gave, God took. Everything's fine. God's name is blessed. At the end of the day, he sees these things as the upper force, and that he in that cannot intervene in any matter. In any manner. In other words, he's pretty stupid, I would say. Why? Because it's like, no, what there is, there is. What there isn't, there isn't. I can't do anything. I think that happens also in the world today. And each person in the street, if you go out and talk to people, you'll say, is there a crisis? Yes. Is there a change of climate? Yes. Is it dangerous? Yes. All these things, see how much these people are unemployed, how many people are sick, how many are divorced, how many kids are getting thrown into the street. Everything's correct. Baruch Hashem. Thank God. What thank God? What thank God? Where are you? How are you? Innocent. Thank God, that's how you relate to it? That's how it should be? That's the question. Therefore, we need to continue giving him suffering to Job. Yes, of course. So he'll change his attitude to life. We see here a prototype of every person in the world. That's how you'll see on the street. I see each and every person is built in that manner. It says that there wasn't, and there was no such thing as these great suffering of Job. There was no such thing. It's true, but that it hasn't happened, that it won't happen in the future if we relate to reality in this manner. I can't say about everything. The problem is like this. The fact that I can say that everything is in the hands of the upper force, where's the other half? Where am I? He's deleting himself from any responsibility. He doesn't want to recognize that there's some type of his participation, that it only depends on him, that he did, that there's no divine plan, nature, that I'm in it as an element. I'm a factor. I'm a factor in nature. The lack of balance with nature, I'm the one causing it. So it's not enough to say to me, this is how I was born, this is how I will die, and everything ends there. No, it's not correct. He precisely, you asked about fate. He believes in fate. The blind fate or whatever, upper fate, whatever you want to call it, but it's fate. Everything is given, that's it. In other words, whoever believes in destiny is someone that believes that everything is written and he has no permission to do anything. He makes himself simply, he makes himself at the animal level. These are levels that develop by God or by nature. It's one and the same. And this nature pushes them to some kind of development and evolution. And that's where they are. They have nothing in them. At any moment in life, they choose what's better, what's worse, in some small manner, and what he has in front of him, and that's how he gets along. But altogether, this plan is not mine. It is, leave me alone. What do you want from me? I'm a little guy. I'm a simple citizen. I'm innocent. I have, thank God, sheep, camels, women, children. That's it. I don't want to know anything else. That's not enough.